If you're a fan of GOA, you know that the Second Amendment isn't about hunting. That being said, the anti-gunners hate you, your guns, and hunting, and are working to ban all of them. But not if GOA has anything to say about it. Watch until the end and see what we're doing to fight this. I'm Phil with GOA, and you're watching the Minuteman Moment. As usual, President Biden is finding new ways to break his oath to protect and defend the Second Amendment. This infringement of the day is a ban on lead ammo on certain federal lands. And the agency of choice is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Agency. I swear, every single agency wants to get involved in Second Amendment infringements. Because most ammo contains lead, this is more than just an attack on hunters. It's an attack on the American gun culture. That's something we've talked about a lot. A lot of you have talked about it. Lots of people, not all gun owners, but lots of people became interested in firearms because they grew up hunting. On top of this, a ban on federal land could also set a very dangerous precedent that could lead to the banning of lead ammo everywhere outdoors. If we accept the premise that this ammo is dangerous, why wouldn't they expand it to everything outdoors? Now, I just said this, but let me say it again. The Second Amendment deals with self-defense, not hunting. It deals with fighting a tyrannical government, not hunting. But it can also deal with hunting, or sport shooting, or anything else you want to do with a firearm. GOA is fundamentally a gun rights organization, not a conservation group. But we will absolutely insert ourselves into the debate if gun rights are going to be infringed in the name of conservation. So how exactly is U.S. Fish and Wildlife pushing this? Here's how they're doing it. They're deceitfully framing the ban on lead ammo as a blessing to Mother Earth, which will save the whales and the rainforest and everything else. But unlike these hippie retreads, GOA does its due diligence and actually reviewed if lead ammo would hurt the ecosystem. After a robust study of all pre-existing research on this issue, GOA's National Director of Hunter Outreach and a certified wildlife biologist, Mark Jones, said the following. The ban was theoretically designed to protect terrestrial wildlife, but the science behind the proposal is unproven and uncertain at best. Research shows that further bans on lead ammunition are not proven to make any improvement in lead exposure among wildlife and will only drive up the price of ammunition, thereby cutting off hunting opportunities for many Americans. Mark Jones created a report on his findings and submitted it to the agency on behalf of GOA and all of you. So let's get into Mark's research and talk about the effects on the general population. In 2008, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and the North Dakota Health Department issued a joint study assessing the blood levels of participants who consumed and did not consume meat from wild game. The study showed that the participants who ate wild game had a slightly higher lead blood level compared to people who did not consume wild game. But the difference was considered not statistically significant, meaning it did not show a real scientific effect and was not harmful. A similar study by the Wisconsin Department of Health and Human Services found no evidence that lead poisoning results from ingestion of a lead bullet fragment in large game animals. In other words, any lead ingested by humans comes from environmental sources besides ammunition. So what about the impact on wild animals? Well, Mark explained activist researchers manipulate the scientific process to manufacture evidence against lead ammunition, and they often ignore the presence of numerous non-ammunition lead sources that are common in the environment. I just can't believe scientists would manipulate the data. These sources can include such items like lead-based paint, gasoline, pesticides, galvanized screws, nuts, bolts, washers, and other items. In 2007, California passed legislation banning the use of lead ammunition in hunting after proponents claimed that the condors were being poisoned by that lead ammunition. And these proponents assured the public that poisoning would stop if hunters stopped using lead ammunition. But 15 years later, California Department of Fish and Wildlife's records show a 99% compliance rate by hunters with the lead ammunition ban. But the incidence of lead exposure and poisoning in condors remains static and has even increased slightly since the lead banning legislation went into effect. In other words, California's lead ammunition ban has been a colossal failure and proves that alternative sources of lead poisoning can't be ignored. The reason for this ammo ban has nothing to do with the environment. In Mark's report, he found studies by the European Shooting Sports Forum and the European Federation for Hunting and Conservation suggest 25% of hunters would stop hunting outright, and over 30% of all European hunters would drastically reduce their activities under a complete lead ammunition ban. Even if the facts don't matter to you, consider what Secretary Zinke, the previous administration's Secretary of the Interior, said on Fish and Wildlife's last attempt during the Obama administration to implement a lead ammunition ban. He said the ban was not mandated by any existing statutory or regulatory requirement. Federal agencies have no business implementing policies that adversely affect those exercising their constitutionally protected rights. Rogue agencies like Fish and Wildlife just can't do whatever they want. They have to do whatever Congress wants, and only if the Constitution allows it. Neither of those two criteria have been met, so in order to fight this, we're getting Congress to act. We worked with Senator Steve Daines of Montana to introduce S-4940, the Protecting Access for Hunters and Anglers Act of 2022. It will prohibit the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Bureau of Land Management from banning the use of lead ammunition or fishing tackle on public lands unless they can support it with science. But like we've already talked about, the science just isn't there. So make sure to call your senator and thank them if they're on this legislation, and encourage them to co-sponsor if they aren't. The number is displayed below and it's in the description. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Whether you're a hunter or not, let me know what you think about a ban on lead ammunition for hunters.